On our wedding anniversary, I cooked a full table of Clara's favorite dishes and waited for her to come home. Clara rolled her suitcase out of the bedroom and said without even looking up, "I've got something to do today. I'm leaving first." I didn't say a word. I just silently picked up a chopstick of cold vegetables and chewed mechanically. At 1 a.m., Clara's best male friend updated his feed right on time. In the photo, she was leaning on his shoulder, holding a bouquet of 999 red roses. Caption: "Who in this world could be more perfect for each other than us?" I stared at the screen for a long time before quietly hitting the like button. The phone rang almost the next second. Clara's voice came through, unusually flustered. "Don't misunderstand. Next year, I'll definitely spend our anniversary with you." I was silent for a moment, then shook my head. "No need, Clara. You won't need to anymore." Chapter 1. Clara came home while it was raining outside. In the past, on days like this, I'd always hold an umbrella and wait for her at the entrance of the apartment complex. But today, I just sat quietly at the dining table, eating the already cold lunch. My phone buzzed. "Where are you?" Lit up the screen. I wiped my mouth and replied, "Come up yourself. I'm eating." The faucet gushed as I washed the dishes. When I heard the familiar sound of suitcase wheels rolling behind me, Clara stood at the kitchen doorway, panting, with raindrops still dripping from the ends of her hair. "I haven't eaten," she said with her usual sense of entitlement. "Make me some dumplings." If it were before, I probably would have dried my hands immediately, started boiling her favorite pork and shrimp dumplings, and even fried a soft-boiled egg for her. But now, I simply turned off the tap and said without turning around, "Order delivery yourself." Her breathing grew noticeably heavier, but she tried to keep her temper in check. "You're still mad about me missing our anniversary. I'm really hungry. Can you stop being dramatic?" I turned around and slowly dried my hands with a towel. "I'm not mad." She stared into my eyes, as if trying to find some crack, and finally sighed in frustration. "Philip and I grew up together. Now he's all alone in this city and sick. I had to go check on him. You getting all moody just wears me out." I hung the towel back on the hook and looked at her calmly. "I'm not making a scene. You don't have to explain." The rain was easing up. The only sound left in the living room was the dull drag of her suitcase on the floor. Clara pulled a Bumblebee model from her suitcase. The metal body had a few scratches, and the packaging was crumpled in the corner. "Your anniversary gift," she said, handing it over casually, like she was talking about the weather. I took the model, my fingertips brushing against the cold metal. "Just yesterday, in that photo on Philip's feed, the gift Clara gave him was wrapped in gold foil paper and tied with a ribbon." "Thanks," I said as I set the model on the coffee table, my voice steady and devoid of emotion. Clara's brows immediately furrowed. "That's it. What else? Should I light some fireworks to celebrate?" I looked up at her. Her expression darkened instantly. She suddenly reached her hand out to me. "That's not what I meant. Where's my gift? Don't we exchange presents every year?" Only then did I pretend to suddenly remember. I took out my phone. "Forgot to get one. I'll just transfer you the money." The screen lit up, and the transfer confirmation sound cut sharply through the silence of the room. Clara's hand froze midair. Her pupils trembled ever so slightly. This was the first time in 5 years that our wedding anniversary gift tradition was broken. The jacket on the coat rack still carried the dampness of the rain. As I put on my coat and walked toward the door, Clara finally came to her senses. "It's raining. Where are you going?" "Drinking." I shut the door without looking back, locking her question behind me. As the elevator chimed its descent, I felt around in my pocket for a cigarette. I had quit smoking and drinking for 5 years. My old party friends had long erased me from their circles. But tonight, maybe it was time to re-add a few of them on WeChat. Chapter 2. The clinking of glasses echoed in my ears. An old friend slapped me on the shoulder, laughing. "I thought you'd be a whipped husband for life." I tilted my head back and downed yet another drink. I'd lost count. The burning sensation in my throat felt oddly satisfying. All these years with Clara, I lived as the house husband she wanted. I skipped guys' nights, deleted my gaming buddies, even let my beloved photography gear gather dust. My phone lit up. Transfer declined. The notification cut into my eyes like a blade. At 1 a.m., the entryway light cast Clara's shadow long and thin. She sat on the sofa with her arms crossed, her nails scratching faint lines into the leather upholstery. Seeing me stumble through the door, a flash of contempt flickered in her eyes. "What are you even pretending for? Drowning your sorrows in alcohol? Pathetic." I steadied myself with the dining table and slowly sat down. My stomach churned with liquor, blurring my vision. "Didn't I tell you I hate the smell of alcohol?" She leaned back in disgust. "Whatever. I'll say it again. Philip is just a friend. Are you seriously putting on this whole tragic act for sympathy?" The night wind slipped through the gap in the unlatched window. My head cleared a little. I absently rubbed the rim of my glass and suddenly let out a laugh. "You've got it wrong. Today was actually the happiest I've been in 5 years." Clara's voice shot up like nails on glass. "Enough, Lucas. I don't want to fight. I'm running out of patience." A hangover throbbed behind my temples. I lifted a hand to massage them. "Calm down. It's late. Since neither of us wants to fight, I'm going to bed." She stood abruptly and reached out to steady me. A foreign scent of men's cologne mixed with the lingering dampness of last night's rain hit me in the face. Instinctively, I leaned away. That small motion froze her in place. As the second bedroom door clicked shut, a dull thud landed on the wood, a fist hitting the door from the outside. I threw myself into bed. For the first time in over 5 years, I didn't warm up a glass of milk for her before bed. Morning light filtered through the curtains as the living room TV played the morning news. Clara sat on the sofa with her arms crossed, tapping the remote with her fingernails. She glanced at me, ice crystals forming in her gaze. I knew she was angry, but I didn't try to smooth things over. I washed up, got dressed, and headed straight for the front door. At the office, I placed my resignation letter on my desk. I had chosen this small company only because it was close to home, convenient for looking after Clara. But now, that was no longer necessary. My boss stared at the resignation form, took off his glasses in confusion. "Lucas, you're one of our most promising talents. Are you sure you don't want to think this over?" 3 years ago, I picked this office only because it was directly across from Clara's workplace. Now, sitting in my inbox was an acceptance letter from a top design institute in Munich. What I gave up at 22 for Clara, I was finally reclaiming at 28. Thankfully, it's not too late. After resigning, I wrapped up my remaining work and called an old friend to share the good news. "Congrats," he said, but then hesitated. "So, what about Clara? Are you guys doing long distance or something?" As the printer hummed, spitting out notarized documents, I looked out at the endless stream of traffic. "I'm getting divorced. She won't be part of my future plans anymore." Our futures were like two rail lines that would never intersect again, each heading toward their own destination. Just like how I could never wedge myself into the childhood bond Clara and Philip shared over the last 20 years. Plane tree leaves spiraled down into the moving boxes outside the apartment. I looked up at the clear blue sky. The world without Clara felt crisp, as if even the air had a sharper freedom to it. I touched the plane ticket in my chest pocket and suddenly recalled what my mother once said before she passed. "Marriage is for happiness. Divorce is too. Son, never lose the courage to chase what makes you happy." Chapter 3. When I opened the door, Clara was applying lipstick in front of the hallway mirror. The cherry red gloss made her skin look even paler by contrast. Those legs, once wrapped in my scarf to keep warm, were now bare in the early autumn chill. Stepping boldly into high heels, in her arms, she held a bottle of amaretto. I knew exactly what that meant. It was Philip's birthday. Clara was going to celebrate it with him. "I'm coming. Stop rushing me." "Of course I'm going to Prince Philip's birthday. Did you really think I wouldn't show up?" She cooed into her phone, her voice playful, that signature fong barely peeking through her smile. She almost never used that kind of soft tone with me. She was still smiling, until the moment she saw me. Silence fell between us. We just stared at each other, neither of us speaking. Then she turned her head away, expression souring without a word. The moment Clara hung up, the warmth in her eyes disappeared, faster than the ice melting in an iced Americano. She bent down to change her shoes with such force it was like she was trying to shake off something filthy. Bang. I knew then, Clara was going to start another silent war. We'd gone cold on each other countless times before, and every time, it had something to do with Philip. In the past, I would have braved a thunderstorm to buy her favorite desserts, even if she met me with sarcasm. I took it all without complaint. But now, I just searched for a few foreign recipes and started practicing in the kitchen. Butter sizzled in the skillet. The recipe for German pork knuckle glowed on the iPad screen. The smoke stung my eyes. Funny, I hadn't even chopped any onions. Chapter 4. At 8 p.m., I saw Philip's latest post. "From youth to maturity, we've walked a long road together. The rest of my life belongs to you." His arm was around Clara's shoulders. The candlelight from the cake cast a warm glow on her blushing cheeks. In the comments, Clara's girlfriends were all sending their congratulations. "Clara deserves happiness. Someone else should know when to leave. Lucas must be losing it right now. They look perfect together. Clara, give Philip a chance." Clara's friends never liked me. In their eyes, I was the outsider who ruined the childhood fairy tale between Clara and Philip. To them, childhood sweethearts were the only kind of love that really made sense. Without me, they believed Clara would have been much happier. Looking at them cheering together in the comments section like some private party, I had to admit, they weren't entirely wrong. Then came Clara's comment, "The rest of my life, with you, what a blessing." I stared blankly at their public flirting. Another of her friends chimed in. "LOL, let's take this to the group chat before Lucas sees it. He'll start another fight with Clara for sure." In the past, I would calmly remind Clara to keep some distance from Philip. After all, she was married. It was only appropriate. Her friends would mock me for being controlling, saying I was some insecure man who didn't even respect basic friendship. Clara never once defended me. Instead, she echoed their criticism, told me I should be more generous, that a real man wouldn't be so petty. I was her husband. Yes, but she was an independent woman. I should respect her personal space and her social life. Just last year on Clara's birthday, I gave her an LV Capucines bag. She pushed it aside. "Philip's Mio Mio suits my dress better." One of her friends laughed and filmed it. Straight guy taste is such a disaster. This time, I didn't play into their expectations. I simply exited the post and scrolled through short videos in silence. When Clara got home, I was already asleep. The mattress sank suddenly, Clara lifted the covers, reeking of alcohol. Lucas, your wife was out late and you don't even care. Other husbands at least check in, you know. Her nails dug into my arm. My girlfriend's boyfriends called them all night. You didn't even bother with one call, just went to bed like nothing happened. Do you even care about me? Chapter 5. I looked at her in confusion, unable to understand why she was suddenly so angry. I had done the same thing in the past, and back then she had stared at me with teary eyes and said, I'm not a tool for you to satisfy your control issues. Please let me go. Give me some space to breathe. But now that I had stopped interfering, she turned around and questioned why I didn't care. I was completely lost. What did she want from me? Still, I didn't bring up the past. I simply responded calmly. You were out with friends. Me calling nonstop. What would that look like? Philip and the others are old friends of yours. What's there to worry about? A flicker of surprise crossed Clara's eyes. Maybe she hadn't expected me to mention Philip's name so calmly. Then her expression shifted, as if she'd figured something out, and she hurriedly explained. That post, it was just a memory. It didn't mean anything. Don't take it the wrong way. I was just about to speak, but she cut in. Wait, do you actually mind that I went to Philip's birthday party? We've known each other for 20 years. If anything were going to happen, it would have happened already. We're just friends. Isn't it normal to attend a friend's birthday? I nodded gently. I understand. It's getting late. Why don't you get some rest? Clara fell silent. She stared into my eyes, as if trying to find some trace of anger, but after a long moment, she seemed to find nothing. She hesitated, reaching out to hug me, only for me to subtly move away. Do you want to sleep in the master bedroom or the guest room tonight? I asked softly, my tone so neutral it gave away nothing. Her pupils shrank sharply, clearly not expecting me to pull away from her touch. In the past, even the smallest affection from her would send me over the moon. She slammed the guest room door with a deafening bang, but in the end, she chose to sleep in the master bedroom. As her footsteps faded, I fell asleep almost instantly. Funny, really, since deciding not to love her anymore. Even my insomnia had cured itself. At dawn, my college advisor called unexpectedly. Somehow, he had heard I was going abroad and insisted on hosting a farewell banquet. I declined repeatedly, and he settled for suggesting a class reunion instead. With the conversation at that point, I had no choice but to agree. But the moment I pushed open the private dining room door, Clara's figure was the first thing I saw. Of course, she had always been the professor's favorite student. What I didn't expect, though, was to see Philip standing right next to her. I was puzzled. Did they need to be attached at the hip even for this? Clara's gaze sought me out through the crowd, her eyes soft with unspoken invitation. I lowered mine and walked toward a corner. They stood side by side like a perfect match. Why should I ruin the picture? Philip caught my glance and lifted the corners of his mouth in a taunting smirk before replacing it with an apologetic expression. Sorry for crashing your reunion. I was bored, and Clara brought me along. Chapter 6. Clara opened her mouth a few times but said nothing. Her fingers fidgeted with the edge of the tablecloth. Restless, I picked up my glass, nodded slightly toward the professor. If even you don't mind, sir, then of course I wouldn't. As the wine slid down my throat, my phone began to buzz nonstop in my pocket. The screen filled with messages from Clara. I only brought him along because it was on the way. If it upsets you, I won't bring him again. Let's go home together after dinner. Okay. I set down the wine glass and tapped a reply. No need. You can go with Philip. I drove here. Then I flipped the phone face down on the table and focused on the now cold mandarin fish on my plate. After a few more rounds of drinks, the room was thick with nostalgia. The professor stood up, wobbling slightly. The red wine in his glass wavered dangerously. Back then, you were my most promising student. He hiccuped. You always said you'd go abroad. So what changed? The wine glass sparkled under the light as his voice suddenly rose. But now look at you. Finally going to the Design Institute in Munich. Finally chasing your dream. His hand trembled as he raised his glass. This one is for your bright future. I stood and downed the drink in one go, the alcohol burning my throat. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Clara's face go pale instantly. Her chopsticks fell onto the bone plate with a loud clatter, shockingly clear in the noisy room. Her knuckles turned white as she clenched her fists. Her voice squeezed out through gritted teeth. Professor, what did you mean about Munich? The professor swirled his glass and laughed, eyes hazy with drink. Huh, Lucas didn't tell you. He's flying to Germany next week. This dinner might be our last chance to see him. He gave my shoulder a hearty pat after he said it. All color drained from Clara's face. Chapter 7. She suddenly grabbed my wrist and, under the stunned gazes of our classmates, dragged me out of the private dining room. The hallway light stretched her shadow long against the floor. She pinned me against the wall, her voice trembling. Going abroad. When did you decide this? Why was I the last to know? There was a shimmer of moisture on her lashes. Lucas, we're married. I'm your wife. I had to hear about this from someone else. Have we grown so distant that we don't even talk anymore? I calmly smoothed out the wrinkles she had left on my sleeve. Oh, it's not a big deal. Her anger flared. Then what is a big deal to you? You didn't even tell me about this. Am I still your wife or not? A faint, detached smile tugged at my lips. I made the decision on Valentine's Day. You looked like you were having a great time with Philip at Disneyland. I didn't want to ruin your mood. Then I just forgot. Her face changed like she'd just taken a punch straight to the gut. Panicking, she gripped my fingers, her palms damp and cold with sweat. But I'm your wife. Something like this. Wife. I let out a short laugh. It made her flinch. Remember when I used to text you every time I worked late? Who was it that got annoyed and said? I mimicked her past tone, full of irritation. Can you stop sending me all this pointless stuff? You're taking up my phone storage. Her breathing hitched, just barely. In the dim hallway, it melted into a near-silent sigh. How long will you be gone? She asked, her voice as soft as a feather falling. I rubbed the faint, long-gone ring mark on my finger and answered vaguely. About 2 years, probably. I thought about it and still chose not to tell her the full truth. I never planned to let her know about it. Tonight was just an accident. 2 years. She looked up sharply, shock unmistakable in the light. My silence said everything. The air between us froze. After a long pause, she suddenly grabbed my sleeve, her fingertips trembling. Can we go home together tonight? The pride in her eyes had been replaced by something that looked like pleading. Just as I was about to respond, the private room door burst open. Philip stumbled out, practically melting onto Clara like soft-serve ice cream. The reek of alcohol filled the hall as he pressed his burning forehead into the crook of Clara's neck. Clara. I don't feel good. Clara froze like she'd been shocked, her eyes darting to me in panic. She tried to push him off, but Philip's weight had her pinned in place. We're not usually like this. Her explanation was laughably weak against Philip's shameless snuggling. I calmly took a step back, still wearing a polite smile. I understand. Moonlight slanted through the window at the end of the corridor, as if drawing a galaxy between us. Chapter 8. Warm alcohol breath clung to Clara's neck. She only frowned slightly, not even trying to move away. I remembered clearly. She used to hate the smell of alcohol. Every time I came home from a business dinner, she made me rinse 3 times before she'd come near me. But now, Philip was practically draped over her, and she just let out a helpless sigh. Give me 10 minutes. Okay, she said softly, holding up the swaying Philip. Her voice was more gentle than I'd ever heard it. I'll call a car for him and be right back. Before she could finish, Philip rubbed against her shoulder like a spoiled dog. The way he did it, too natural, like they'd rehearsed it 100 times. No need. I stepped back again, my leather shoes clicking crisply on the marble floor. He seems to need you more than I do. As I turned away, I heard Clara call my name behind me, but it was immediately drowned out by Philip's slurred mumbling. I didn't look back. I walked straight into the elevator. Just before the mirrored doors shut, I saw her still struggling to break free from his embrace. On the ride home, the hired driver had the AC blasting, but I still felt suffocated. Outside the window, neon lights blurred through the film of tears in my eyes, just like that Valentine's Day 2 years ago, when Clara and I watched a light show by the river. That night, she got a message from Philip too. She gave me the same apologetic look and said, he just got dumped. I should go be with him. My phone buzzed. On the lock screen, Clara's message lit up. I just dropped Philip off. I'll come home after making sure he's settled. Then another. He threw up badly. I might not make it home tonight. I looked at her favorite fuzzy slippers by the doorway and couldn't help but laugh. I had stood in line for 3 hours last year to get those limited edition slippers for her birthday. That day, she was busy taking Philip to the hospital because he had a cold. Chapter 9. I stared blankly at the phone screen. This was probably the first time Clara had ever voluntarily told me her whereabouts. It reminded me of the past. How? Back then, I'd casually ask who was attending her gatherings, only for her to snap back. Do you really need to know everything? Don't you think that's a bit psycho and suffocating? I ended up buying her breakfast for a week straight just to apologize. She finally cooled off, but laid down a hard rule. I was never allowed to interfere with her social life again. Okay, that was my only reply to her latest message. Clara seemed unsatisfied with that single word. She quickly sent 3 more texts. He was puking really badly. I swear. It's 3 a.m. and pouring outside. There are literally no cars. Nothing's going to happen. Don't get the wrong idea. I kept replying with the same word. Okay. Finally, the phone fell silent, but the liquor in my stomach started kicking in. Its delayed punch hit like a wave. I ended up in the bathroom, vomiting until the room spun. My reflection in the mirror had bloodshot eyes. Turns out, Philip wasn't the only one who got drunk at that dinner. It wasn't until the first light of dawn crept in that I finally dozed off. When I woke again, it was 11:23 a.m. My phone showed a spotless lock screen, no new messages. The spicy aroma of grilled fish takeout filled the living room when Clara finally walked through the door. She paused, clearly surprised to see the takeout boxes in front of me. By routine, I would have had her hangover soup and a bowl of porridge ready for her return, but this time, I didn't. Back in the day, if I dared order food without making anything for her, she'd scold me for being inconsiderate. Today, though, she asked in an unusually mild tone, "Is it good?" She leaned closer, carrying the scent of a shower gel I didn't recognize. I nodded. A fishbone lodged halfway down my throat. Philip was such a handful. You have no idea. It's a pain dealing with a drunk person. She studied my face as she spoke, but the moment he woke up, I left. I didn't even stay a second longer. There was guilt in her voice, but I didn't call her out. Must have been hard. I cut in, my tone as calm as discussing the weather. Her smile froze. She absent-mindedly picked at the corner of the table. Then, suddenly, she said, "My friend Elise is getting married tomorrow. Come with me to the banquet." It didn't sound like an invitation. It sounded more like a test. Chapter 10. My chopsticks paused in midair. I looked at her, surprised. This was a first. In the past, whenever her friends got married, she'd always cling to Philip's arm and say to me, "Elise and the others don't like you. If you show up on their big day, it'll ruin the mood." I remembered how many times I fought with her over that, how I even tried buying gifts to win her friends over. Now, the grilled fish's spiciness burned in my throat. I simply said, "Forget it. No need for me to go and get on your friend's nerves." Clara reached out, trying to touch my hand, but froze halfway. Her fingers trembled slightly. She forced a smile. "But you're my husband. Why would they? Remember when Elise said I couldn't even compare to one of Philip's fingers?" I cut her off. "You laughed out loud right next to her. And after that, you told me, if you can't even get along with my girlfriends, what kind of men are you?" But she knew full well, how her friends treated me had everything to do with how she treated me. I didn't mean it. I was just angry. She interrupted anxiously, her ears turning red. That desperation reminded me of the first time she flaked on me because of Philip, when she came home to find me still waiting up alone. Her face had the same look, but that was long ago. "I really can't go tomorrow." I tied up the trash bag. The plastic cords dug into my palms. "I have to get my visa sorted out. I've got an appointment at 2 in the afternoon." That part was true. The paperwork still sat unfinished in a folder near the door. Clara stared at me, stunned. She clearly hadn't expected me to reject her, especially not this firmly. It was something the old me would never have done. I added, "Why don't you take Philip? He gets along so well with your friends, doesn't he?" Her face went completely pale, panicked. She grabbed my wrist, her nails digging into my skin like she could hold on to something slipping away. "Then I won't go. I'll stay with you. I'll help with the visa." "Okay." Chapter 11. I slowly wiped the oil from the corner of my mouth. "No need. It's your best friend's big day. It wouldn't look good if you skipped it." Her fingers absently rubbed along the edge of her phone. Then, "I'll really bring Philip." "Okay." Her voice was cautious, testing the waters like she was bracing herself for my jealousy. "Sounds good." I even smiled. "He's close with Elise and the others too." Clara's eyes widened in shock. She leaned closer, staring into my pupils like she was searching for even a hint of dissatisfaction. "Lucas, you really don't mind?" I almost laughed. She once ditched me on my birthday to spend the night with Philip. I waited outside her office for 4 hours just to explain myself, and she told me I was being clingy. Now she was chasing me, hoping I'd be jealous. "You two grew up together. Taking him along makes perfect sense." I stood up and began tidying up the food containers. The plastic bowl crinkled faintly in my hands. Suddenly, she grabbed my wrist. "Then tomorrow morning, let me take you to the visa office." Her voice carried a stubbornness that left no room for refusal. I thought for a moment, then didn't say no. To be honest, I didn't feel like driving anyway. Having a ride didn't sound so bad. Her eyes lit up instantly. She moved as if to take my hand, but I turned to grab a water glass instead. "You stayed up all night. You should get some rest." I gestured toward the redness under her eyes. "I've got a bit of a headache from the charcoal. Gonna lie down for a bit." Before she could respond, the bedroom door had already closed gently between us. The soft click of the lock sounded like a period at the end of a long, dragging sentence. When morning light seeped through the curtains, Clara was already busy in the kitchen. I stared at the steaming fried egg on the table, suddenly remembering the last time she cooked breakfast for me. It was 3 years ago, on my birthday. The leather of the passenger seat creaked under me as I sat down. How long had it been since I last sat here? Probably since that rainy day 2 years ago. I was waiting outside the office, hoping Clara would pick me up on her way home. I waited 3 hours. She never came. Rain trickled from my hair down the back of my shirt. When I finally called, she snapped, "You're a grown man. What's a little rain? Go home by yourself. I'm not arguing with you." That same night, Philip posted a photo. She was holding an umbrella, her hand affectionately resting on his shoulder. The car's stereo played my favorite piano piece. Clara kept turning her head, trying to make conversation. I smiled politely, tapping my fingers on my knee in rhythm. Then suddenly, Philip's custom ringtone cut through the calm. It was that song, the one she used to sing for me. She'd set it as my ringtone once. Clara's hands tightened around the steering wheel. Her eyes darted toward me in a panic. "Answer it." I rolled the window down. The crisp early autumn breeze carried the scent of osmanthus inside. "Clara." Philip's voice was slow and sleepy. "I've got my suit on. Are you on your way to pick me up?" "Not today. You'll have to get a cab." Clara spoke quickly, suspiciously fast. I raised an eyebrow, glancing at the rearview mirror. To my surprise, I was smiling. There was a short pause on the other end of the call. "But it's raining," Philip said, suddenly sounding pitiful. You always used to pick me up before. Chapter 12. Philip's voice took on a playful, pleading tone. If you don't come get me, I'll have to walk in the rain. You really want to see me soaking wet like a sad little puppy? Hesitation flashed across Clara's face. Her fingertips tapped anxiously on the steering wheel. Through the rearview mirror, I saw the familiar furrow in her brow. It was her default expression every time she had to choose between me and Philip. By habit, I knew what was coming next. Lucas, why don't you get off here? It's easy to catch a ride from this area. I saw the indecision in her eyes and spoke up before she could. Go pick him up. Clara responded quickly, almost flustered. But what about you? Forget it. I'll just take you there first. I unbuckled my seatbelt. No need. Just pull over anywhere. But you. Her voice suddenly caught, as if she was just realizing how absurd this choice really was. At a red light, I pointed at the sidewalk. Here's fine. Easy to get a cab. As I opened the door, the leather seat let out a sound like a sigh of relief. Clara rolled down the window. The morning breeze caught the loose strands of her hair. I'll come back early tonight and cook for you. There was a look in her eyes I hadn't seen in a long time. Something soft, apologetic. It reminded me of the time she forgot my birthday last year. Go on. I bent down slightly and smiled at her. Wouldn't look great if the bridesmaid shows up late. As her taillights disappeared around the corner, I turned away without hesitation. After the visa appointment, I glanced at my phone calendar. The sound of the visa officer's stamp still echoed in my ears. 10 days. All these hesitant glances, these moments of indecision, they would soon be nothing more than memories. 7,000 kilometers away, lying on the couch, I was scrolling through short videos when my phone lit up. On screen, Elise and her fiancé were kissing in front of a champagne tower. The camera panned suddenly, catching a crowd playfully shoving Clara and Philip together. Clara, it's your turn. Elise, drunk and giggling, had her arm around Clara's shoulder. The rhinestones on her nails sparkled in the light. Some people better hurry up and lock it down. She winked suggestively at Philip. He looked shy but quietly scooted half a step closer to Clara. Clara's smile froze on her face. Her fingers began twisting the hem of her dress, an unmistakable sign. I knew that gesture well. She always did it when she was uncomfortable. My phone buzzed with a message from her. We were just goofing around in the video. Followed by 3 nervous emoji faces. Looks like a lively wedding. I replied, setting my phone to silent right after. The food on the table had gone cold. Condensation dripped from the heat cover, landing on the wooden surface like the tick of a countdown clock. It wasn't until noon the next day that the sound of the door lock finally turned. Clara stumbled in wearing heels, reeking of champagne and an unfamiliar perfume. They insisted I stay. She bent over to change shoes, her posture clumsy and rushed. A run in her stockings caught the morning light like a tear in fabric. I muted the TV. The news anchor was reporting international flight updates. Food's on the table, I said. Clara froze, clearly not expecting such a flat reaction. In the past, when she stayed out all night, she wouldn't even bother sending a text. Now that I didn't care anymore, the lines she'd prepared so carefully had nowhere to land, like a punch thrown into empty air. After she washed up, she sat on the sofa, towel drying her damp hair. Did you buy your plane ticket? When are you leaving? Chapter 13. I set down the remote and said calmly. Next Saturday. The ticket's already booked. The air froze instantly. Clara suddenly rushed over, eyes red. Lucas, I can't take this anymore. We need to talk. About what? She lifted her chin defiantly, fingernails digging deep into her palm. I'm tired of the way you're treating me. What did I do? I looked at her, confused. Isn't this what you always wanted? Her chest heaved. It's because of Philip, isn't it? I said nothing. Her voice shook like never before. Fine, if that's the issue, I can. I'll keep my distance from him. That stopped me in my tracks. I remembered once kneeling in the pouring rain, begging her not to leave me. She had shaken my hand off and said, don't use breaking up to threaten me. Philip is my childhood friend. Even if I lose you, I won't lose him. And now, she was willing to cut ties with him for me. But unfortunately, it was too late. You've misunderstood. I shook my head softly. I stopped caring a long time ago. You're free to be friends with whoever you want. Clara suddenly pulled out her phone and began frantically scrolling through her contacts. You don't believe me, right? I'll prove it, right now. Clara. Philip's voice came through the speaker, full of surprise and delight. Calling me this late. Missed me already. That line, missed me already, boomed through the living room like a bomb. Clara's face went ghost white. She scrambled to mute the phone, but it was already too late. That familiar, casual tone had revealed far too much unspoken intimacy. Don't talk nonsense, she snapped, voice shrill and cracking. Philip, let's not talk anymore after this. Philip sounded like he couldn't believe what he'd just heard. Clara, what? I must have heard you wrong. Clara took a deep breath. I'm serious. Philip, let's stop contacting each other. There was the faint clink of glass on the other end. Then Philip's drunken laugh slurred through. Oh, I get it. Your jealous husband again. Right. Ha ha ha. I told you not to marry that guy. Look at him, always sulking, picking fights, making you stay away from me. Isn't he just throwing a tantrum again? He snorted. Figures. A guy with no real friends could never understand our. Shut up, Clara suddenly screamed. Her fingernails scraped across the phone case, making a sharp screeching sound. Who do you think you are? You dare talk about my husband like that? You don't even deserve to say his name. Her hand trembled as she hung up. The screen instantly lit up with a dozen missed calls. She turned around, still red with anger, but the moment her eyes met mine, her expression softened. See, she said, holding up 3 fingers to her temple like a devout believer. I swear, I've cut ties with him. From now on, I'll wait for you at home every day after work. I looked at her reddened fingertips. Those same hands had once carefully baked a cake for Philip's birthday. Yet she always claimed she didn't have time to learn how to make the braised pork ribs I liked. The divorce speech I'd prepared rolled onto my tongue, then twisted itself into something else. You don't have to cut him off for me. Clara, let's just get a divorce. She suddenly lunged forward and covered my mouth. Her palm smelled of sweet champagne and a man's unfamiliar cologne. Tears swelled in her eyes, trembling at the edge of falling, catching the glow of a street lamp that had just flickered on outside, like twin pools of moonlight, on the verge of breaking. Chapter 14. The sound of her tears hitting the floor was loud and rhythmic, like the ticking of a clock in the silence of the living room. Clara's makeup was ruined. Mascara streaked into 2 gray smudges beneath her eyes. It was the first time I'd ever seen her cry like this, completely falling apart. Back then, if she got a tiny paper cut on her finger, I'd rush out at midnight to buy band-aids. But now, I just stood there, quietly watching her trembling shoulders, and suddenly, it felt absurd. Clara, proud as ever, was actually crying for me. I'll go with you. She grabbed the hem of my shirt, her knuckles white, her voice choked as she looked up at me. I'll go abroad with you. I'll give up everything here. I knew how much it must have taken for her to say that. All her friends and family were here. Her career was flourishing. But if she left with me, she'd be cutting all of that off, starting from scratch. I turned my face away. In the reflection on the window glass, her swollen, red eyes looked back at me. That familiar stabbing in my chest returned. I'd thought I was numb to it by now. But now that this moment had come, why did it still hurt so much? No. I gently pried her fingers off me. Clara, She threw herself into my arms. Tears soaked through my shirt, cold against my skin, like the Valentine's rain that year. Please. Her voice broke into pieces. I'll die without you. Take me with you. Don't leave me behind. It took everything in me to speak. I'm sorry. Clara, I can't take you with me. She clung to me tighter, her tears soaking deeper into the fabric. Lucas, I'll give up everything for you. I don't want anything else. I want you. Please. Take me with you. I've always been soft-hearted, but this time, I pushed her away. Clara, let's get a divorce. We were never from the same world. I'm tired now. I just want to return to my own. Her tears wouldn't stop. Her voice was raw and hoarse. No, I don't agree. As long as I don't agree, we can't get divorced. I let out a bitter laugh. You should be happy. You never wanted to share your life with me. You hated being questioned. Well, after today, no one will question you again. No, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please, baby, just give me one more chance. I closed my eyes, then opened them slowly, and finally, I pushed her away. Let's get divorced. Saying it brought an unexpected sense of relief. Just as you wished, no one will ever interfere with your freedom again. Clara lunged at me again, scratching my arm and leaving angry red marks. We promised we'd spend next year's anniversary together. There is no next year. I gently brushed her hands away. Clara, there really is no next year for us anymore. Chapter 15. Clara's crying shattered the silence of the night. She clung tightly to the hem of my shirt, like it was her last lifeline. She kept begging, saying she wouldn't agree to the breakup, that she wanted to go abroad with me. In the end, I couldn't bring myself to be cruel. The moment I nodded, she threw herself into my arms so hard it made my ribs ache. Expressionless, I let myself feel that last embrace. At first light, the dull sound of suitcase wheels rolled across the carpet. Through the crack in the bedroom door, Clara's curled-up silhouette under the blanket reminded me of the first time I saw her, dozing off unguarded in the library corner. My knuckles hovered on the doorknob for a long time. In the end, I only whispered a few words. Clara, goodbye. The airport's robotic announcements droned on about flight statuses. My phone buzzed constantly in my pocket, Clara's messages growing more frantic by the minute. Where did you go? 8:23 a.m. Please call me back. 8:37 a.m. The last message comes with a location screenshot. I'm at Terminal 2 at 9:15 a.m. I rubbed the edge of my boarding pass, and suddenly remembered that college graduation trip. She'd gone looking for me just as frantically back then too, but it was to ask for a ride. To take Philip to the hospital with sudden stomach pain. Lucas. Her scream tore through the noise of the terminal like a blade. I turned. Clara was stumbling through the security line, crying hard. Her hair stuck to the tear-streaked mess of her face. In her hand was the wedding photo I had left in the drawer. I paused at the boarding gate, but I didn't look back. The phone vibrated in my palm again. Her final message burned into my vision. Lucas, you lied to me. My fingertip hovered over the screen for a long while before I finally replied. And how many times have you lied to me? This time, let's just call it even. That message sat next to one from 3 years ago, when she texted, "Working late tonight," with a photo from Philip's feed attached. A candlelit dinner. Back then, when I was the one being lied to, my heart broke. I wonder, this time, will Clara feel the same way? During the 12-hour flight, clouds churned past the airplane window like waves. In the reflection of my new apartment's floor-to-ceiling glass, the first snow of a foreign winter fell quietly. Unread messages from Clara filled the blocked list, 99 plus. Sometimes, I still woke up at night, reaching for my phone out of habit, only to see the single, lonely mug on my bedside table. It was a couple's set. The other one had shattered during Philip's birthday party. Clara dropped it by accident. Late the following autumn, at a project celebration dinner, a familiar number lit up my screen just as I accepted a glass of champagne. The moment I answered, her broken sobs crossed the time zones. "You promised you'd only be gone 2 years. Lucas, you lied to me." Outside, Munich streets flickered with neon in the twilight. I looked at my reflection in the glass, calm, unreadable. "Yeah, Clara. I lied to you." The dial tone echoed as she hung up, startling the pigeons on the windowsill. In the distance, the river shimmered under the streetlights. It looked just like the ripples in the campus fountain the year she lost the necklace I gave her. Only this time, no one would be staying up all night diving in to search for it.